or good evening, wherever you're watching this, in whatever time zone. It's our second session with myself and Gina Dannison, who's a accomplished coach, and someone with huge amount of lived experience of living with multiple sclerosis. And I want to share this right at the beginning there, because I know that she doesn't like to celebrate her wins, but I started out live last time, and she completed 500 meters in the swimming pool. Well, she tells me today that she's done 750 meters in the swimming pool today, and she's training to do a triathlon. It is in the disabled triathlon arena, but that's what she's training to do, and I celebrate, Gina, and well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Today's subject is an interesting one, really. It's what does food represent to you? And I'm gonna ask you all, if you want to ask a question, please type it in the chat, and we'll either deal with it or come to it at the end. But I'm going to ask that question, Gina. What does food represent to you?
Oh my goodness, Chris. Food. I've been on a massive journey with food and had an amazing amount of dietary experiments. So when I first started my conscious healing journey, food is one of the first things that is totally within our control, that we can shift it up. So my first book that I read was called Overcoming Multiple Sclerosis by George Jelinek, and his suggestion was to really cut down on the saturated fats, go completely plant-based, but with high fish or high omega oils. So I followed his plan. I read his book and thought, that makes sense. That's something I can do. So I pretty much overnight cut out dairy. I was never a massive meat eater anyway, so cutting out meat wasn't that hard. And to be honest, I really quite enjoyed his diet. So for 18 months, I was pretty strict. I was very strict, phoning up restaurants before I went there to make sure they could accommodate my new dietary requirements and all this sort of stuff. And although he does say it can take up to 3 years, 18 months later, when I felt great, I felt good in myself, but my symptoms were getting worse. So I sort of lost interest a little bit and stopped being quite so strict. But what that did is lead me on to doing more research. And what I discovered, there is no one diet that can help MS. It really depends what book you read. And I actually came up as part of my development, really. I've created a diet comparison chart, of which there are 10 diets on there. I'm sure there are more, but 10 diets that I found when I was doing research that varied from completely plant-based to completely carnivore and anything in between. So they were so different. Take out gluten, take out this, take out legumes, take out different things. There was no one size fits everybody. However, there was a commonality between them all. You won't be surprised to hear none of them included any processed food, and none of them included any refined sugars. Although there is a fruit, a fruit only diet and a raw diet that have, potentially help people. So where I stand at the moment is I probably am. I do the 80-90 rule, or probably more like the 90-10 rule with regarding to my clean eating. But every now and again, I like cake, and I'll have a bit. And certainly in the short term, it doesn't seem to have any negative impact on me. My body doesn't respond, because I know people are really sensitive and they'll eat something that's bad for them and their bodies straight away, they're cramping up or they're, completely fatigued. That doesn't happen to me. So what the long-term result of eating something that's got gluten or got sugar in or got dairy in or got all the things that potentially we're not meant to eat, then I don't know. So on the whole, I probably still follow George Jelinek's diet pretty well. I enjoy the vegetables. I enjoy the fish. I now try and avoid gluten. Pretty much, I've cut out dairy, apart from the odd little bit of butter. Which again, if you're following certain types of diets, then high quality butter is absolutely okay. So there, that's my little journey with food. I don't know the answer is the truth for me. I would love to be in a place where I can just ask my body and it responds to me straight away what it needs in that moment, but I haven't quite got there yet either. So yeah. So what about you, Chris? Tell me your experience with the whole food journey.
Okay. But I've been on this journey longer, and my taking control, if you like, started with the Swank diet, which was devised by Dr. Roy Swank.
And that was pre-Jelinek, wasn't it? It was
yeah, and I will say that, well, it was the first. It was, and it's probably, I mean, Swank is now dead. It was the first MS diet. Yeah, and I'm going to say this, that all of the diets that have come after, fantastic as they are, they're all variations of the Swank diet, which is actually very restrictive. Yeah, sorry, I can't say any words.
So what basically are you cutting out in Swank then?
In the first year, you cut out all red meat, all saturated, literally saturated fat, eggs, dairy, everything. You try and get your saturated fat intake lower than 20 grams per day, but as close to zero as possible. And I found that there was improvement, but it is a very restrictive diet. And I started to add things back in, really, and just listened to my body to see how I reacted to it, really, and what I found, I mean, George Jelinek and the overcoming multiple sclerosis diet, I think is fantastic. I think it's about finding what works for you, because honestly, what works for one person doesn't work for another one, and I don't know if you agree with me, Jen, but
100%, because I actually met and spoke to a guy so I'd been very much plant-based is the way forward, and this guy actually was at one point totally and utterly could hardly get out of bed. He was incompetent. He was not incompetent. He was incontinent. He was impotent, and he was in his 30s. It was not, he wasn't living his best life at all, and he was ready to. He's like, I'm done with this, and he actually went on the carnivore diet. I mean, really hardcore carnivore diet. He was having raw organ smoothies for breakfast, but honestly, it 100% worked for him. I saw him, and it was just like he was exercising. He's got an amazing love life. He's loving life. So you're right. There is no one thing that fits everybody.
But I do agree, and I think cutting all ultra processed food, and also being very mindful of the amount of refined sugar that you are consuming is beneficial for everybody.
Oh God, without a shadow of a doubt, definitely.
Yeah, it's from my point of view. Look, and I'm not a nutritionist or anything like that, but I think it's about eating a wide range of plant-based different colour foods.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my diet is now, I am whole food, plant-based with fish. That's it. That's all I eat. And weirdly, I was trying to explain this to someone the other day, and they looked at me and they went, what you don't eat cake, you don't have a donut, or you don't have any. And I went, no, absolutely not. And they said, oh my God, that must be so boring, you know. And I thought to myself, how am I going to actually like react to this? And it didn't have a negative response for me. But I realised that in a way, food does not represent kind of food and enjoy. I mean, it does represent enjoyment for me, but I eat to flood my body with as many good nutrients as I possibly can. So it's I'm putting the best possible fuel into my body, you know, that I can. And I don't miss sugar. I do not miss cake. I do not definitely miss donuts. And yeah, it works for me in many ways, because I don't get these slumps during the day. I don't get you get these like crashes in it. And I don't get. I seem to have. And look, it's limited energy, because look, we're living with a neurological condition that, especially the weather that we're having at this moment in time with the heat and everything, which affects me. But I don't have these energy slumps anymore. So yeah, it's good. It's good. But
I think.
Sorry.
I think like eating that way, because my diet's very similar. It's a lot of vegetables, and there's a certain amount of fish as well. But I love it. You know, the salads I make are amazing. I make incredible salads, and I love every morsel of them. And the stir fries that I make, and the food that I make I love it. You know, I cook well. It's quite intuitive. I get my organic box twice a month, and I make whatever's in it, and I create whatever's in it. What I miss, because I'm a single person and I'm not living on my own, but my son doesn't cook for me, is so when somebody's cooking for me, I sort of let go of my things a little bit. If somebody wants to take me out for dinner, I'm just grateful that somebody's preparing and delivering, and I don't have to clean up from it. So from that trumps quite a lot, to be honest with you. And I think vibrational wise, because a lot of the work I do is how we feel about what we're doing. So I think if we've got a high enough vibration and we're totally aligned with what we're eating, it doesn't actually matter what we're eating. Saying that, nobody's going to be totally aligned with eating chocolate cake every day, because as nice as it might taste in the taste buds, and you know that long term it's not going to be good for you, or you get that crash, or you get your body responding to you in some way saying, actually, that was a bad thing. So as much as we might say it's okay to eat cake, I'm talking from myself, there's still a little negative vibe coming in there saying, yeah, but is it though? Is it really? So I think if we can get rid of the negative vibe and be 100%, so the more, I think if I'm going to eat cake, I like it to be homemade. It'd be amazing if it could be gluten-free and dairy-free and created beautifully. And what I would really like to see in the world out there are cafes and restaurants that cater for people that are really health conscious, because there aren't many of them. That would be amazing, to go somewhere and know that actually it is gluten-free, it is dairy-free. They cater for various different, they know about different diets. I've been following a lot of the medical medium stuff. I don't know if you've seen his, but he's super clean, cleans it out even more, gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner about cleaning out your body. And when you follow it, you can't deny you do feel better. But whether it feels that much better in comparison to the restrictions and the challenges and the amount of time that you're physically in the kitchen, Yeah, it's, and symptom wise for me, it's not made that difference. If I found something food wise that, you know, that enabled me to walk with more ease, then I'd be, yeah, I don't think I'd be looking at cake if that was the thing, but it just doesn't feel that it is. Does that make sense? So it
Yeah,
is, yeah.
yeah. I hear what I do hear what you're saying there. I just think, and I just look at food as nutrition. You know, it's I. Many people say to me that it's the way I eat is very expensive. Yeah, I will source organic wherever possible. Um, but the reality is, it isn't actually that expensive
No, I don't think it
because
is either.
no, because you consume and use everything you buy.
Definitely. Well, like I said, I have, for me, a box of veg twice a month, which costs £17 delivered to my door, um, which includes a few oranges because I usually have oranges as well. Yeah, and it lasts me. You know, I make some good food out of that. It does. It's, I have to top it up a little bit with some bits and pieces, but nothing major. And of course, we're not buying alcohol, are we? we're not buying cake. We're not buying bread. We're not buying all the processed things that may feel like they're cheaper, but they're yeah, they still cost money.
Yeah, and they don't keep you fuller for longer.
No, and they don't keep you healthy, and they don't keep your gut. So you wanted to, you said in the green room that you want to talk about the old gut biome, because that's something else that you've been working on for a while, isn't it?
Well, I've been talking, and you've known me for quite some time now, Gina. Yeah, I've been talking about our gut microbiome for years, literally years, and you know, we know that 70% of our immune system lives in our gut. Kind of makes sense to me to get your gut microbiome into the best possible state it can be.
Yeah.
I do use a kefir. It's a goat's milk, raw goat's milk based kefir, and I've been using that for years now. If anyone wants to know the product, I will. If you send me a DM or anything like that, I'll let you know what it is. Um, I think, and I've had my gut microbiome tested, if you like, you know, and you know, it's a family show, this, isn't it? But we know what we're talking about here. And my my gut microbiome comes back consistently saying that I have a high amount of anti-inflammatory gut that lives in my stomach now, you know. And I think that's a really good thing, living with an inflammatory disease.
Yeah.
To have that high proportion of anti-inflammatory gut microbiome may suggest why I seem to be doing reasonably well with this condition. You know, I'm on a journey. I'm going to remain on this journey for the rest of my life without a doubt. You know, we're not preaching cures here or anything like that. But let's live our best lives. You know, let's start doing 1,000 kilometers in the pool next time, too. You know,
Well, that's my aim. My aim is to just be knocking out a kilometre every time I get into the pool without sort of, I'm not going to say without pausing for breath. It's not quite like that, but it does seem to be, you know, the fact that I'm up leveling is a good feeling, isn't it? It's at some level, may not be able to walk so well. That part of the triathlon is still a bit of a feels way out there, but certainly in the pool or in the lake, I'm getting it.
but I'm sure you're going to agree with what I'm going to say here, Gina. Is that, you know, unbeknownst to us, we spent a long time creating this condition that is living within us. It is extremely unlikely that we're going to turn that around overnight. It's a long journey.
It is a long journey, and like you said, it is lifelong. I don't think it's I mean, the way I think about MS now isn't like a thing that I want to get rid of. I feel it's more of a guide. It's more of a spiritual guide, because it's encouraged me, pushed me, forced me onto a path that I never would have chosen. But it just I feel a lot better in myself now than I did before I sort of consciously decided to take responsibility for my own health. And that, I think, if people are living with an unwanted diagnosis or an unwanted symptoms, then there is a magic in there somewhere. And once you start taking responsibility for your own health, and the diet's just an easy one to start with, because the diet in the Western world is so incredibly poor. We all know that most things on the shelves aren't really very good for us. We've been missold all over the place. So low fat this and diet this and vegan this, that it's healthy. Most of it is not. If it comes out of a packet, it's been processed in some ways. It's been added to. It's been taken away. It's not good. So to actually get back to basics and to have whole food. Oh, it actually there's a bit of fish that looks like a fish. It's got scales. It's got a tail. It's got a googly eye. And people are like, oh no, I don't want that. It's like that's a real
food.
Yeah.
I mean, it came about because there's been in social media. I've seen some things published around a test, a clinical study that's been done with twins, where one twin's got MS and the other twin hasn't, and they've found a gut bacteria in the twin with MS, and that study was carried out by the Ludwig Maximilian University in Germany. There has been other gut microbiome trials. Nothing conclusive, but it makes sense to me. And you know, we might be talking about multiple sclerosis here, yeah. But this applies to everybody. You know, fueling your body with the best nutrients that you can is going to benefit you. You know, and cutting refined sugar, you know, saturated fats and trans fats, isn't it? It's those fats in that you find in the ultra processed foods and stuff like that.
That's even worse.
Cutting that out of your diet, it's going to be beneficial to you, because your gut does not recognize what you're putting in there. It doesn't know what to do with it.
Well, what I would encourage people to do, if you've never really thought about your diet before, is to just do some experimenting with it. One of the things that I did on part of my journey is I went on the AIP protocol, which is the autoimmune protocol, which is basically gets you to take every type of food group out of your diet. At one point, I was only eating, I think, cabbage and something else. There wasn't a lot. You got quite creative with the 2 or 3 ingredients I was allowed. I can't remember what they are now. But the idea was that actually when the symptoms started, easing off, then you could reintroduce certain food groups and see which ones triggered you. Challenge for me is the symptoms didn't really ease off. So I was, but that was a 16-week experiment where I was super strict for 16 weeks. So, but that's not everybody's experience. Some people find amazing changes just by changing their diet, by taking out gluten. Gluten is just in anything. Just experiment. Take it out for 6 weeks. See how you feel. If it's worth it, carry on. If you feel not so much, then you've tried something. But I think trying something makes you feel empowered. Rather than sitting there. For me, when I first read that George Jelinek book, I thought, well, this is better than sitting here just waiting to get more disabled. And immediately I felt more empowered. I felt like I was doing something worthwhile. And I was. Didn't quite get me to the place I wanted to be with the speed that I would have liked it to be. but it certainly started me on this journey. And yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful I'm still on it. I am, because there's more to discover about myself. That's what I believe. That's what yeah.
I think we should also mention that there are other MS diets out there. There's MS Hope, and it's
so it's the best
Matt
diet.
Embry
Yeah.
and his dad.
Yes.
I can't remember his dad's name. There's also the Walls Protocol,
Yes.
which is, you know, widely out there. But importantly, I think it's important to find what works for you, because we are all different body types. You know, we need to eat to our body type, really, and yeah, just find, listen to your body. Eat something and see how you feel. Keep a note of it. You know, that's the important bit, isn't it, Gina?
Yeah.
Keep
Well,
a
yeah.
note. Forget.
Keep
We
it.
forget.
Yeah. It's worth. I mean, and this is maybe where I would benefit from going a bit deeper. So I've been on the Wild Fit protocol. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that as part of the Mind Valley thing, and they get you doing that, exactly that. Eat whatever you want to eat, but just notice how you're feeling before you're eating. Because are you actually hungry, or is it because you're feeling a bit low, or is it because a lot of the time I eat because I'm tired? So why just have a lie down then instead? But you know, we recognise it's a quick fix, or we'll just have a chocolate bar. Back in the day, I would have had a chocolate bar mid-afternoon because they taste nice and it helped give me a little bit of a lift. These days, of course, chocolate bars are not on my certainly not on my daily consumption, but yeah, we do. We eat because a lot of the time we might be thirsty, we might be dehydrated. We eat because we're low energy. We eat because we're feeling sad, because we're feeling lonely. So it's and a lot of the time we eat because it's a communal thing to do. We get together, and you know, what happens when you get together with family and friends? Oh, we'll have something to eat. We have a barbecue, or we have a food party, or we meet at a restaurant. So there's a lot of other things other than just nutrition that we need to consider as well. So
Okay, so I've put the banner up for our next stream, which is the 1st of July, same time, 12:30 GMT. And the subject for our next talk, and it's a subject that, well, I think it's one of my favourite. It's probably 80% of the coaching and therapy that I do with my clients, and it comes from a guy called Sydney Banks. And I'm gonna give you one of his sayings. Thoughts are not reality, yet it is through our thoughts that our realities are created. And think about that one, guys, because you will find it's true. So see ya on the other side. 1st of July and all that, and I'm really looking forward to that. So bye-bye for me, and
thank you very much.
what about you, Gina? See you later.